How's it going, everyone? As always, my name is Jimmy Champagne and this is Deck Ready, my channel all about the Steam Deck. I just launched my new channel, Real Ones. I'd really appreciate it if you checked it out. The first video is all about John Carpenter and how he basically became really bitter about his career. Despite being known as the master of horror, he was not successful until way later after his movies came out. It's linked down in the description. I'd really appreciate it if you checked it out. Also, it's Dog City up in here. I'm watching my mom's dog and he keeps coming down here, which makes my dog come down here, and then they run around. So if you hear jingling, if you hear my dog rubbing her head on the floor, if you hear anything that sounds like a dog, I apologize. They apologize. They're glad you're here though. Whoa, Jimmy from the future here. There's actually 4 topics in today's video because Valve has released SteamOS 3.6 into the stable build. So later in this video, I'm talking about how I got off the beta because 3.6 broke Bolt Gun. And in this time, I have tried out 3.6 and Bolt Gun is fixed. So thank the Lord. That game is awesome. If you haven't played it, I highly recommend checking it out. I know I'm a little late on this, but when everyone does the same video at the same time, YouTube just shoots mine into the garbage. So for those of you who want to hear my thoughts on SteamOS 3.6 as someone who's used it extensively in the beta, stick around. If you don't really care, there's more topics in this video that will probably be more relevant to you, and they are up-to-date news. So the main thing that comes along with SteamOS 3.6 is a better graphics driver. I am consistently impressed with how good of a job Valve is able to do just updating software to get better performance out of the Steam Deck. Like if you compare the Steam Deck now, even the LCD, like if you've still got a launch Steam Deck kicking around, if you compare that to where it was back when it came out, the games just look and run better on this thing, way better than it did back when it came out. And that's awesome. Like we've gotten at least a 15 to 20% performance boost since the launch of the Steam Deck. And 99% of that is Valve just making better software updates as time has gone on and graphics drivers that are actually meaningful. Of course, the drawback there is that the graphics drivers take a long time on the Steam Deck because I'm assuming of that Proton layer where they have to make sure they get good performance with Proton in games that struggle. But thankfully, Valve gets data from everyone who plays on Steam Deck. They get full readouts of how games are running. So I'm sure that helps them work with AMD to ship new drivers for the Steam Deck. So overall, it's great that we're still getting new graphics drivers. And I know on paper, like 15% seems like a lot, but what it really results in is like 1 or 2 extra frames. But for me, as someone who plays at locked 30 or locked 40 in the vast majority of games, what that 15% bonus means is way less 1% lows and way less stuttering or frame drops. You know, like when you're playing a game and you traverse between different parts of a level and like 99% of the time it's locked at 30 FPS, but then you move between parts of the level and it drops like 1 or 2 frames. What this 15% performance boost that you get from 3.6 does is it just cleans that stuff up. So when you combine that with the performance boost you just get raw out of the Steam Deck OLED, it basically makes it the most consistent device I have in the PC side of gaming in terms of frame rates once I dial in all the settings. So all of this stuff is incredibly appreciated, and it's not something you really have to pay attention to, right? Like you just update your Steam Deck and then suddenly notice that it has better performance. That's good for the consumer and it keeps people engaged and happy with the Steam Deck brand as a whole. So there's really nothing to complain about there. I'm really appreciative of this. They also improved controller compatibility. So if you're someone who likes to play fighting games or something like that, or first-person shooters, and you use a mouse and keyboard or a fight stick or something like that, there should be more compatibility. This update also brings along, I know everyone gets mad when I mention it, the ROG Ally support. So if by some chance you're able to get this version of SteamOS installed on your ROG Ally, you'll get full button support for the back buttons and everything like that on the Ally. So I'm assuming that with this shipped, the full support of SteamOS for the ROG Ally can't be that far off. I've said it before, I'm not installing SteamOS on my Ally. I'm fine with my Steam Deck being my SteamOS device and my Ally being my Call of Duty and Forza machine because those games require Windows to run, you know, like it's nice to have 2 different devices. I gotta be real though, I use my Steam Deck infinitely more than my ROG Ally. Like I'll probably jump on the Ally for Call of Duty Black Ops 6 when that releases, but I'll play that for a month, put it down, and then when I go pick it up, I'll have to dust off my Ally again because it sits here in my basement where when people walk around, dust falls from the rafters because I did that thing where you take out the drywall ceiling and just leave the floor above, and it drops dust like crazy. And most importantly, for all of you official dock users, it seems like they may have fixed the issues. I ended up switching to the Razer USB-C hub for my desk, so the dock has been sitting in my tool cabinet over there for a few months now. I'm planning on digging it out just to try it because I have a new desk set up upstairs where I'd love to have another USB-C dock, and I'm not buying another Razer one because they're so expensive. So if the new deck firmware for the dock actually works, it would be nice to be able to use that dock again because it was expensive. I paid, I think, like $80 for it, and I know they include a second charger, but like that's an expensive dock to be busted ever since 3.5 came out. I really don't know what happened there, and I feel like the only reason it took so long to fix is because maybe no one really uses it. I don't know. I'm glad they fixed it. I think it shouldn't have taken as long as it did. With 3.6 out the door, you guys know, of course, I hope this gets us one step closer to the full official release of SteamOS 3.0 for everything. I know everyone's saying that NVIDIA cards won't be supported at the launch of this, but then last time I said that, everyone in the comments was saying Bazite actually performs really good with NVIDIA cards. I've just been really busy with real ones lately, so I haven't had time to really dig into my main gaming PC to try and figure out how to get Bazite up and running, but it's something I'm heavily looking into at this point, so thank you. Anyway, I'm gonna shoot back to past Jimmy, where we can talk about the new beta update that just came out and a whole lot more. In today's video, I've got 4 topics to cover. The first one is there's a tiny Steam Deck beta out now, and it has a cool feature, so that's why I'm mentioning it. Second on the list, we got to talk about this new data that my friend Rich over at Fan the Deck found that basically just proves devs need to stop ignoring the Steam Deck. Third, wouldn't you believe it, EA has broken yet another game on the Steam Deck. And finally, we're going to talk about the new Silent Hill patch and whether or not this game is worth playing on the deck. All right, let's jump into this first news topic here. So if you're on the beta channel, you're going to want to update because there's a really cool feature they brought along with it. I'm currently not on the beta because it broke Bolt Gun, which is a really good game if you're still into Warhammer like I am. I just got the Blood Angels Codex, the supplement. I got Lamarty's. I got Astaroth, I think is what the guy is called. I got Sanguinary Guard, guys. I got the Sanguinor on the way. I am deep, but yeah, Bolt Gun sweet. It was broken on the beta, so I had to revert. This new beta update adds a feature that I've been waiting for, which is the ability for developers to tell the Steam Deck to actually play the native Linux version of their game. So if you didn't know, which is weird, the Steam Deck defaults to Proton no matter what, it seems like even if there is a dedicated Linux version of the game that may or may not run better on the Steam Deck, it will most times just default to the Proton version. And I've always wondered with games like Left 4 Dead 2, which I'm pretty sure has a Linux port or whatever you would call it. I've always wondered if that game would look or run better on the Steam Deck using Linux, and now there is a way to check it out. So that's a cool little beta feature. So yeah, if you're on the beta, make sure you're updated. I might switch back just to see if they fixed Bolt Gun because I liked a lot of the features that were included in the 3.6 beta, and I miss them now that I'm not on the beta. Anyway, that brings us to the second news story here, which is that according to my friend Rich, who is the smartest guy I know, so I believe him, devs can no longer ignore the Steam Deck. So this is all a study that he did where, if you didn't know, they updated Steam's review system where if you've played more than 50% of the game you're reviewing on your Steam Deck, it'll actually put a little badge next to your review to say the majority of your game time was on the Steam Deck, which is really cool. But he figured out that you can filter those reviews to see only reviews that are from Steam Deck. So doing that, you can get the amount of deck reviews and then compare them to the amount of total reviews, and then you could get the percentage of people who theoretically played, most of the game on their Steam Deck. And I know most people don't review games on Steam, but it is a cool way to extrapolate it out, and he got some really cool data. So these are all English language reviews. You can actually change it to be global, but I'm just going to use the English language numbers because I speak English and it's the superior language. I just made so many people mad. I'm sorry. That was a joke. That was a joke. Anyway, the first game Rich took a look at was Metaphor ReFantazio, which is a game that I would like to get to when I have a spare 150 hours or whatever the hell, however long it takes to play that game. So out of the 3,300 reviews, 150 of them were majority game time on Steam Deck. So just doing the quick math there, Rich already did it. It's 4.5% of the reviews were majority on Steam Deck. The second game he looked at was Balatro, which is a game that feels like it's made for the deck, and unsurprisingly, the percentage is higher at 8%. Hades 2 is also high, very close to Metaphor ReFantazio at 4.6%. Diablo 4 has an extremely high Steam Deck percentage, which I definitely contributed to. I might go review the game to throw off his numbers by like 0.00001%, but 6.9% of the people who reviewed Diablo 4 have majority of the game time on deck. That game, is really good on the Steam Deck. It's like a good rock solid 30 FPS at medium all the time. And if you're just like, if your wife watches The Bachelor or The Bachelorette or The Golden Bachelor like my wife does, it is the perfect game where if she wants you to hang out with her, you can just get sucked into Diablo 4, run through a few dungeons and call it a day. So yeah, it makes sense that that game is very high percentage of playtime on Steam Deck. And then finally, the Kingdom Hearts Mega Collection Goofy and Donald Edition with Collector's Edition code unlock is at 10%. I don't know what that collection is called. I think it's like 1.5 plus 2.5 remix or something like that. I don't know. They released it on Steam after it being stuck on Epic forever, and that's at 10%, which is pretty good because I think that game sold pretty well. And something that Rich pointed out that I think is really cool that I didn't even think about at first is these percentages will never be high. Like having 4% of the people who played a game and reviewed it be on one device with the exact same configuration, because PCs have so many different components you can use, it's really rare. So it's good to see that Valve actually has this many people playing and reviewing games on the Steam Deck. And this goes to show that developers who say that classic line, "We have no support for Steam Deck planned," are stupid. You should be supporting the Steam Deck if your game is not some graphics showcase like Space Marine 2 or something like that, because it just goes to show that you could have a huge hit from just Steam Deck players if you support that thing from the jump. I know Valve's rating system is kind of weird where like supported doesn't really mean anything. It just means the game is easy to read and it opens up without a launcher or something on the Steam Deck. But I feel like a lot of people still don't know that, and they look for that verified check mark at launch to see if a game will run, because in the videos where people test performance of games, I always see comments from people who are like, "This game says it's unsupported. I can't believe it works." They just don't know. And it makes sense because if you look at the pictures they use, it's like I and a yellow sign, green and like a green check, and then a question mark for unsupported. I mean, just glancing at it and not reading into the web page, I would have assumed that too. Like if I didn't have this YouTube channel, I'm busy. I'm not reading into this stuff, and I would just assume that unsupported means it doesn't freaking work. So this is a two-pronged issue. I think more developers need to support the Steam Deck at launch and try to get their games verified, and I think Valve needs to pull a Rainbow Six Siege Operation Health and just rebuild the verification system to include games that run at 30 FPS at a minimum at 800p with FSR. I think that would be an easy bar to clear for most games. So like do what people are looking for. People already see it as a system where it's telling you if the game runs or not. So you should cater to your customers and just give them the information that they're clearly seeking out. Third on the list, let's talk about the latest game that EA broke using easy anti-cheat, and it is Battlefield 1. I see this game on the top 10 list all the time, and I cannot believe that EA is still on this train, especially because there is a version of easy anti-cheat that works on the Steam Deck. I literally don't understand what is going on with these publishers like Ubisoft making sure that Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown does not release on Steam. Now the team is disbanded. Then with The Lost Prince of Persia, not only does it release on Steam day one, but it doesn't require the launcher, whereas Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown requires the launcher. It just doesn't make any sense. And then you look at EA, they add the anti-cheat to their games that breaks them on the Steam Deck, but then with Dragon Age: The Veilguard, there's no launcher required, there's no DRM, it just works, and they targeted the Steam Deck with graphic support. I don't understand why it's piecemeal with these companies. Just do what your consumers want. Like, you shouldn't use it as a last-ditch effort to get people to want to buy your game. It should just be the standard for every game. Don't use launchers, don't use other storefronts, don't use Denuvo, and make sure you like your game works on the Steam Deck. It is really a foolproof system because A, people will praise you, and B, more people will buy your game. It's a crazy concept. Like, it literally feels like they're gambling with the amount of people that they'll lose by launching their games first on Ubisoft Plus, or making sure you need an EA launcher, or adding an easy anti-cheat that won't work on the Steam Deck. And it's like, why would you do that? You want to make more money at the end of the day. People are literally telling you exactly how to make more money. Release your games on Steam day one, easy mode. Release your games without a launcher, easy mode part 2. Release your games without anti-cheat, easy mode part 3. The systems are all there, these developers just need to use them. But finally, that brings us to the fourth topic, which is that Silent Hill 2, one of the worst PC ports I've ever played. I'm so sick of Unreal Engine 5. I get that it looks good. I really appreciate the graphics in a lot of these games, but it's just not worth using. Because every PC game now that uses Unreal Engine at the very least has traversal stuttering, and I don't know if it's the developers who don't want to figure it out, or if it's EA or if it's Epic Games, but regardless, every game that uses this launcher has the exact same issues and the exact same amount of people complaining about it. And we saw that the data shows that Silent Hill 2 sold 80% of its million copies sold so far on PS5, and I guarantee you a reason for that is because of the Digital Foundry video that's like, hey, this game is fucked up on PC, you probably shouldn't buy it until there's some patches. But patch 1.4 is out for the PC, and it brings the stuttering like in line with the PS5. Like I played it on PS5 and it still stutters when you're loading in between different areas, but that weird stuttering that would happen because of the sky box changing weather, that is apparently gone. And I did check on my main gaming PC, it stutters a whole lot less. I tried to go look at Steam Deck HQ to see if this would fix the performance on Steam Deck, but they said they haven't tried it out yet. I did look and see launch performance though was pretty decent. Like you can get a fairly rock solid 30 FPS with decent graphics. You do have to use a launch command to unlock FSR 3.1, but it seems like a decent game to play on the deck. I would say if you're gonna play Silent Hill 2 on the deck, just get the enhanced edition of the original game. The original game's PC port is abandonware. You can download it with an easy installer that does not require a disk, and installing the enhanced edition is also free and it takes like 5 minutes. So I would just do that and wait until you have a more capable system to play Silent Hill 2, because the graphics are just too good to like play them on an 800p screen with frame generation on the lowest settings. I'm just being honest. That's all I gotta say. Anyway, guys, that's all I've got for you in today's video. Please, please, please check out Real Ones. I would really appreciate it. I think you will like the video. That's all I got though. As always, my name is Jimmy Champagne. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching and shape on.